Let me tell you about the day the Galactic Reconnaissance Fleet made their first and most catastrophic mistake in interstellar diplomacy. Spoiler alert, it involved Earth, and surprise, they drastically underestimated us. Commander Revakvos of the Andromeda Patrol Fleet stared at the holographic display with the kind of confidence reserved for our beings who've conquered 12 star systems before breakfast. His three-fingered hand traced the orbital path of a small blue-green planet that looked about as threatening as a kindergarten art project. The preliminary assessment complete, he announced to his crew, his translator device converting his click consonant language into something resembling smug bureaucraties. Planet designated E347, colloquially known as Earth by its inhabitants. Technology level, primitive. Biological diversity, unremarkable. The potential threat level, 0. Lieutenant Caramel, the team's xenobiologist, adjusted her spectral analysis goggles and frowned. Her species had evolved with 6 eyes and a perpetual look of mild irritation, a genetic trait that made her perfect for scientific skepticism. Sir, I'm detecting some unusual evolutionary patterns. The carbon-based lifeforms exhibit peculiar adaptation strategies. Voss waved a dismissive tentacle. Unusual? They have mammals that look like oversized cotton balls and birds that can't seem to fly in a straight line. Hardly worth noting. What Commander Voss didn't know, what none of the Galactic Reconnaissance Fleet could possibly understand, was that Earth's creatures had perfected the most ingenious survival mechanism in the known universe. They looked cute. Devastatingly, disarmingly cute. The ship's cultural analyst, Prax Neural, scrolled through Earth's digital archives. Their internet is 87% images of small furry things doing ridiculous things. I fail to see how this constitutes a civilization. If only they knew. Revik leaned back in his command chair, a gesture that would have looked authoritative if his species didn't resemble sentient octopi wearing poorly fitted business suits. I'd prepare standard colonization protocols. ERSEC will send the initial landing team within 72 standard galactic hours. Kara muttered something that, in her language, roughly translated to this seems like a terrible idea, but professional courtesy prevented her from elaborating. Little did they know, Earth was about to teach them a lesson in evolutionary warfare that would be remembered across 1,000 star systems. A lesson that would begin with something that looked like it should be cuddled, not feared. Spoiler, they were going to learn the hard way that on Earth, even the cute things can kill you. Here's the thing about evolution that most galactic species completely miss. It's not just about being the strongest. It's about being the smartest. And on Earth, smart often looked exactly like adorable. Take the platypus, for instance. To any rational observer, this creature looks like nature got drunk and decided to play mad scientist. Duckbill? Check. Beaver tail? Absolutely. Venomous spurs that can drop a grown human. Wait, what? Evolutionary biologists on Earth had long understood a fundamental truth that the universe was about to learn the hard way. Cuteness is the ultimate camouflage. While other species developed thick armor, razor-sharp teeth, or complex defense mechanisms, Earth's creatures went for something far more devious. They became irresistibly cute. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a researcher who would have been laughing her ass off at the alien reconnaissance team's confusion, had dedicated her entire career to studying what she called tactical adorability. Her groundbreaking research demonstrated how seemingly harmless creatures had developed evolutionary strategies that were essentially biological warfare disguised as cuddle, but potential. Consider the golden poison dart frog. There. Ike. Less than 2 inches long, bright yellow, looking like something a child would draw in a cartoon. One of the most toxic animals on the planet. A single frog carried enough poison to kill 10 grown humans. Nature's equivalent of a nuclear warhead wrapped in a Hello Kitty package. Or the slow loris, a creature so mind-blowingly cute that illegal pet traders had nearly driven it to extinction. Its large eyes and tiny hands made it look like a living teddy bear. But here's the kicker. It's the world's only venomous primate. When threatened, it can produce a toxin from glands near its elbows that, when mixed with its saliva, creates a deadly cocktail. The alien reconnaissance team would soon discover that Earth's approach to survival was less about overwhelming force and more about psychological warfare. Why develop massive muscles when you can make potential predators go RBBW and then quietly eliminate them? Kara Meln, the team's xenobiologist, was beginning to notice inconsistencies in her initial data scans. The biomass calculations didn't make sense. How could creatures that appeared so fragile demonstrate such complex survival mechanisms? Prax Neural, scrolling through more Earth archives, found increasingly disturbing documentation. A creature called a drop bear, essentially a koala that could drop from trees and attack with surgical precision. Koalas. Attacking. The very concept was ludicrous. Commander Ravik Vos remained blissfully unaware, confident in the fleet's technological superiority. He was about to learn that technology means nothing when faced with an evolutionary strategy so perfectly designed that it weaponized cuteness itself. The real genius of Earth's creatures wasn't just survival. It was making potential threats lower their guard completely. Why fight when you can make something so adorable that your enemy wants to protect you instead? Little did the Galactic Reconnaissance Fleet know, they were walking into a trap millions of years in the making. A trap designed by evolution, camouflaged by cuteness, and waiting to spring. The landing team consisted of 6 elite reconnaissance agents, each selected for their supposed superiority in first contact protocols. They'd faced down silicon-based life forms, survived radiation storms, and negotiated with civilizations that communicated through elaborate dance patterns. They were not prepared for a petting zoo. The team's initial landing site was a wildlife sanctuary in Australia, chosen specifically because it seemed the most harmless location on the planet. Commander Vos had personally selected the coordinates, believing it would be a perfect demonstration of Earth's technological inferiority. Dr. Marcus Wellington, the sanctuary's lead researcher, greeted them with the kind of cheerful ignorance that would soon become legendary across the galaxy. "Welcome," he called out, completely unaware that he was about to become the unwitting host of the most spectacular first contact disaster in galactic history. "We have some very special residents today," Wellington continued, gesturing toward what looked like a collection of fuzzy, harmless creatures. "Would you like to meet our platypuses?" Lieutenant Kara Meln's 6 eyes narrowed. Something felt off. The first indication that something was wrong came with the platypus. It looked like nature's practical joke, part duck, part beaver, covered in the kind of fur that made you want to cuddle it immediately. Prax Neural, the cultural analyst, was already scanning its biological signature. "Unusual," he muttered. "Electroreception capabilities, venomous spurs. Mammalian that lays eggs." Then everything went to hell. But the platypus, which had been sitting there, looking like the most adorable mistake of evolution, suddenly moved. Not cute wiggle moved. Tactical strike moved. Its venomous spur connected with the protective environmental suit of the lead reconnaissance agent. The suit, designed to withstand extreme planetary conditions, lasted exactly 2.3 seconds before the toxin began breaking down its molecular structure. "Impossible," Commander Vos whispered. But it wasn't just the platypus. A nearby kangaroo, which moments ago had looked like nothing more than an oversized stuffed animal, began positioning itself with military precision. A wombat rolled with a movement that suggested decades of tactical training. Dr. Wellington watched with a mixture of professional interest and what could only be described as professional pride. "They do that," he said casually, as if discussing the weather. The reconnaissance team's communication network erupted in a cacophony of panic. Translations overlapped, warning systems blared, and somewhere in the background, the animals of the sanctuary moved with a coordination that suggested this was less a random encounter and more a carefully orchestrated demonstration. One of the team members, a junior lieutenant whose name would be redacted from all official reports, made the critical mistake of trying to run. A nearby cassowary, a bird that looks like an emu's prettier cousin, intercepted with a speed and precision that would make Special Forces recruiters weep. And Commander Vos realized, with a growing sense of existential dread, that they had massively miscalculated. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a carefully designed evolutionary killing field, where even the cutest creatures were apex predators in disguise. And they had just become the latest demonstration. The ship's emergency medical bay looked like a scene from the galaxy's most bizarre disaster film. 3 reconnaissance agents were being treated for injuries that defied all logical explanation. Commander Revik Voss had gone an alarming shade of purple-green, the alien equivalent of turning ghost white in shock. A platypus, Voss kept repeating, his translator device adding a monotone quality to his increasing hysteria. A platypus disabled our most advanced protective gear. Lieutenant Kara Meln was systematically reviewing the sensor logs, her 6 eyes blinking in rapid succession, the xenobiological equivalent of a nervous breakdown. The biomechanical efficiency is impossible, she muttered. Those creatures should not be able to move like that. They should not be able to do that. Prax Neural, the cultural analyst, had stopped speaking entirely. He was just staring at a holographic replay of the cassowary's tactical takedown, which looked like a ballet choreographed by a psychotic military strategist. The medical AI kept trying to categorize the injuries, and kept failing. Venom composition? Unknown. Attack patterns? Illogical. Threat assessment? Catastrophically cute. We've intercepted their global communication networks. Neural finally spoke, his voice a mix of terror and professional detachment. Do you know what they're discussing? Cute animal videos, while simultaneously being nature's most perfect killing machines. Dr. Marcus Wellington, who had been invited aboard the ship as a consultant, red, bemused captive, was enjoying this far too much. He sat there with the calm of someone who knew exactly how terrifying his planet's wildlife could be. So, Wellington said casually, shall we discuss the drop bears? 3 alien heads turned toward him simultaneously, a movement that would have been comical if they weren't currently reassessing their entire understanding of planetary life. Voss leaned forward. Explain. Well, Wellington continued, they're essentially koalas that have evolved to drop from trees and attack with surgical precision. Cute, cuddly, absolutely murderous. The ship's threat assessment algorithms began smoking, literally smoking. Kara pulled up additional research, her translation algorithms working overtime. Your scientists have a term for this, she said, reading from Earth documentation. Nature is metal. What does this mean? Wellington laughed. It means nature doesn't play by rules, it plays to survive. The realization was spreading through the alien crew like a virus. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a living, breathing evolutionary experiment where cuteness was the ultimate camouflage, and everything was a potential apex predator. Prax Neural made the fatal mistake of pulling up more Earth wildlife documentaries. Honey badgers, slow lorises, poison dart frogs, each creature more adorably deadly than the last. We can't colonize this, Voss whispered. We cannot colonize a planet where everything looks like it should be in a children's picture book, but fights like a special forces unit. Dr. Wellington just smiled. Humanity's greatest defense mechanism wasn't technology. It wasn't weapons. It was the ability to make potential threats go OW right before demonstrating exactly why you should never, ever underestimate something just because it looks cute. The Galactic Reconnaissance Fleet was about to send a very different report back to headquarters. The Emergency Galactic Communication Channel was not designed for panic. It was supposed to be a calm, measured method of interstellar diplomacy. What came through was anything but. Abort. Abort. Do not approach Earth. Commander Voss's transmission screeched across multiple frequency bands, his translator device barely containing the raw terror in his voice. Back on Earth, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was reviewing the classified reports from the Wildlife Sanctuary. She had a cup of coffee in one hand and was making notes with the other, looking like someone who had just confirmed a mildly interesting scientific hypothesis, not someone who had just indirectly repelled an alien invasion. The truly brilliant part of Earth's evolutionary strategy wasn't just the cute but deadly wildlife. It was humanity's complete obliviousness to how terrifying they actually were. Take the human capacity for adaptation. Most species would look at a hostile environment and give up. Humans looked at the same environment and said, challenge accepted, then proceeded to not just survive, but thrive in ways that defied all logical explanation. Deserts? Humans invented irrigation and air conditioning. Arctic regions? Humans developed clothing, built cities, and started drinking coffee like it was a survival mechanism. Space? They looked at the vast, cold vacuum and decided to build machines to live there. The alien reconnaissance team had completely missed the most dangerous aspect of humanity, their absolute refusal to be limited by biological constraints. Prax Neural, still shaking from the wildlife sanctuary incident, was compiling a report that would go down in galactic history. They domesticate wolves, he muttered, and then turn them into creatures that live in their homes, sleep on their beds, and are considered family members. Lieutenant Kara Meln was analyzing human medical records. The data was insane. Humans routinely survived injuries that would kill most species. They had developed entire branches of medicine dedicated to putting themselves back together after doing monumentally stupid things. They have a medical classification, she reported, her 6 eyes blinking in rapid succession, called Hold My Beer, which appears to be a ritual preceding extreme personal risk. The ship's cultural database was overloading. Humans had turned curiosity into an art form. They didn't just explore, they explored with a mix of scientific methodology and complete disregard for personal safety that bordered on the psychotic. They had evolved on a planet where everything could kill them. Poisonous plants, aggressive animals, extreme weather, geological instability, and their response wasn't to hide. Their response was to become more dangerous than anything around them. They consider Florida Man a legitimate cultural phenomenon, Neural said, his voice a mix of terror and grudging respect. A human subcategory that appears to defy all known laws of physics, biology, and common sense. Commander Voss had stopped speaking entirely. He was just staring at footage of Australian wildlife, Australian humans, and the general concept of Earth as a planetary ecosystem. The report would be simple. The conclusion was clear. Do not approach. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a living, breathing system of organized chaos where cuteness was camouflage, curiosity was a weapon, and survival was less a biological imperative and more a competitive sport. Humanity's greatest trick wasn't looking harmless. It was being harmless looking while being absolutely, unequivocally deadly. The official galactic report would be classified, redacted, buried so deep in bureaucratic archives that future generations might mistake it for a fever dream. A classified galactic reconnaissance report, planetary assessment, E347, Earth status, do not approach threat level, existential. Commander Revik Voss sat in the debriefing chamber, his once impeccable diplomatic uniform now looking like it had survived a war with a particularly aggressive laundry system. His species had conquered 12 star systems. They had negotiated peace treaties with silicon-based life forms. They had mapped entire galactic clusters. They had never been so thoroughly defeated by a planet full of creatures that looked like they belonged in a child's stuffed animal collection. The humans don't even know what they've done, Kara Meln observed, her 6 eyes blinking in a pattern that suggested profound existential crisis. They have no idea how close they came to first contact, how close they came to an actual alien invasion. Dr. Marcus Wellington, still aboard the ship as an impromptu cultural consultant, just grinned. The kind of grin that suggested he knew exactly how close they'd come and was enjoying every moment of it. We developed cute as a weapon, Wellington explained, as if discussing the weather. Not intentionally, of course. But evolution is a hell of a thing. The ship's communication systems continued to filter through Earth's internet, an endless stream of cat videos, wildlife documentaries, and what appeared to be humans doing monumentally stupid things for entertainment. Each video was a testament to a species that had turned survival into an art form. Prax Neural, the cultural analyst, had created a presentation that would never be shown. Slides detailing how a planet could produce creatures like the platypus, the honey badger, and humans, beings that defied all logical understanding of biological development. Recommendation, Voss dictated for the official report, is total quarantine, absolute non-interference. The cosmic irony was perfect. Humanity had no idea how close they'd come to an alien encounter. No idea that their planet had just passed the most difficult test in galactic history, a test of evolutionary adaptability that most species would have failed spectacularly. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, back on Earth, continued her research. Another day, another set of data points, showing how remarkably adaptable Earth's life forms were. She had no idea she had just been the silent architect of humanity's greatest defensive victory. "We're sending them back with their tails between their legs," Wellington said, a phrase that would have made perfect sense to humans, but required extensive translation for the alien crew. The reconnaissance ship would return to its home system. The report would be filed, and Earth would continue spinning, completely unaware of how close it had come to a potential invasion. Just another Tuesday on the most dangerous planet in the known universe. Commander Voss made one final log entry. Recommendation: stay away. Far, far away. Earth is not a planet. It's a living, breathing ecosystem of chaos, where cute is a weapon, and survival is an art form. God help any species stupid enough to try and conquer it. Humanity's greatest defense mechanism wasn't technology. It wasn't weapons. It was the ability to look absolutely harmless while being absolutely deadly. Mission status: successfully avoided. Threat assessment maximum.